Hello everybody and welcome back. Thank you very much for joining me. Over the last few months, I've been asked why I don't bring people on to the show and let them speak about their encounter in their own words. So one gentleman reached out to me whose name's Matt, and he was happy to do that. So I'm really excited that for the first time, I don't have to read out the account. You can actually hear Matt's experiences in his own words because he's here with me tonight. Hello, Matt.
Hi, Deb. How you doing?
I'm doing really well, and I wanted to thank you actually because I know there's a lot of people out there who are a little bit still dubious about being taped, and I think when they listen to your story and see how welcome it is by people, because the comments that we'll get will be absolutely wonderful. I know they will. I've seen it happen before. That person might feel a little bit more empowered to come forward. So if you don't mind, I'm going to let you start wherever you want to start, and you just talk away because I'm going to have a good listen.
Okay. Well, we were just discussing, weren't we, about how we got to where we are?
Yeah.
Through our experiences as children and breakdowns and enlightenment and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's where we are at the moment. So we can go from there if you like.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I think there's many people that will understand because they have similar life experiences to me and you. And as we talk tonight, I can think of so many people actually that I speak to will be saying that's exactly the same for me.
I'm sure they will, at least similar anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. So through my enlightenment, I'm an author, and I used to run personal development workshops, which I don't really do much anymore. Mm-hmm. And I've had quite a lot of spiritual experiences, and I was always interested in the Bigfoot phenomenon since a child, watching the Patterson, the Wright Patterson tape. Yeah, that's when it all really kicked off in earnest, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was 1967. That was the year I was born.
Say the year again.
1967.
That's it. Probably 67. Yeah, it's the year my brother was born.
Right.
Anyway, so that was always interesting. As kids, we would be out camping and we'd hear a noise and say, "Oh, that was Bigfoot" and stuff like that. But it was always just a bit of a joke. I've had no Bigfoot experiences, and to be honest, of the thousands of hours and videos of Bigfoot I've seen, I'm not impressed with the evidence, to be honest. So it was always interesting. It was especially interesting to see people who research it professionally, rather than trying to make fake videos.
Yes,
they're out there gathering evidence and looking at footprints and tree breaks and stuff like that, and that's more interesting. But anyway, so I've always been interested in Bigfoot, but never had an experience until about 2 years ago. And it wasn't Bigfoot, but I'll tell you what happened, and then you might be able to assess what you think it was. But anyway, I go out at night taking photography of photographs of the Milky Way and the stars and stuff. And at first, because I was enthusiastic and it was lovely to get out at night, and I've always been, through my enlightenment, I've always thought of the universe being in harmony and at oneness and peace and stuff. So when I'm out at night in nature and it's just me and the stars and a field and a few animals and a few trees, it's always been peaceful. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
Until about 2 years ago. And anyway, I was photographing in a town called Wroxall on the Isle of Wight, not far from where I live. And it was about 11:30 at night, and there's a house there called Appledurkham House.
Right.
And I was parked up the road on the way up to Appledurkham House, standing on my own, just taking photos. Basically, it was a nice clear night. It was in the summer. You could see the stars clearly and stuff. Not far from the village of Wroxall, so there's a little bit of light from the towns and stuff. Yeah. But it was quite a dark spot, really, because you need a dark spot for photographing the Milky Way. And a group of party goers, which were actually a wedding party, were staying at the Appledurkham House, and they walked up the road from the pub, and none of them had torches or anything. I just heard them coming, and I put my phone light on and started chatting to them, and they were all interested in the photography, and we had like a little mini Milky Way workshop. There's about 20 people there, and they're all saying hi and having a good time and giving me their contacts on Facebook and stuff like that. And after a few minutes, they wandered up to Appledurkham House, which is about 200 yards up the road. And I just carried on about another 20 minutes taking photos, stood there on my own, no big deal. Suddenly, you probably like resonate with this, but suddenly it went really dark.
Yeah.
Really quiet. Normally you're hearing like trees rustling or cars going by in the village or something, but it just went really quiet and really dark. And I became aware of something standing close to me.
Right.
Within about 20 feet of me, it felt like. Right. I just felt like presence.
Yeah. That you're not alone.
Yeah. If you were stood in a nightclub or at a train station, right, and someone came and stood up behind you and was staring at the back of your head.
Yeah, you feel it.
Within a few minutes, you'd notice it, wouldn't you? And you'd turn around and go, hang on. Well, it felt like that, but it felt like intuitively, it felt like within 20 feet of me.
Yeah.
So because of my spiritual background and stuff, I didn't think much of it. I was okay. There's a ghost or a demon or whatever your problem is. Hang out with me. I'm taking photos. It's not a problem. Do you know what I mean? I haven't got a problem with spiritual things at all. So it didn't worry me. Just made me think, oh, okay. So I carried on for a few more minutes taking photographs and stuff until whatever it was growled at me.
Oh, right.
That was when I started, things started to shift and change a bit. It growled, and it was like I immediately thought, intuitively, it's a big dog.
Right.
Because it was that low down growl in its tummy.
I was going to ask you to describe the growl. Was it loud and
low
deafening?
Down?
Right.
Low frequency.
Yeah.
The kind of tummy growl that humans can't do.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
So it's definitely an animal, and I thought big dog immediately.
Right.
And they call it a guttural growl, don't they?
Yeah, exactly that, a guttural growl.
I could try and do it, but I can't do it with the growl. I can only do it with the vibration. But it was like,
right,
but deeper and slower.
Yeah.
And I thought, big dog. Why is a big dog out in Wroxall?
Yeah. Where's
so I looked around and couldn't see anything. It was pitch dark. I didn't have my torch on or anything, because I've learnt my camera so well that I can do it in pitch darkness now. So I don't even need a head torch or anything. So I thought, did I hear it was a dog? Could have been one of the houses in the village or something. So I ignored it. And then it did it again, louder. Right. Same thing. It was about 3 or 4 second deep, low down growl.
Right.
So that made me think, right, now I need to protect myself.
Yeah.
So getting a little bit nervous now, I went back to my car, which is only a few feet away. I got out my torch from my camera bag, and I had a craft knife with me.
Right.
Like a lock knife, but it's only a craft knife blade, and I use it for brambles and stuff if I ever needed it. So I just keep it in my camera bag sometimes if I'm going out, depends if I'm going hiking across fields and things, basically. And so I got my knife out and I got my torch out. And I'm standing at the edge of this field, shining the torch around, and I can't see anything anywhere. There's a big oak tree in the middle of the field that's been hit by lightning. That's only kind of alive on one side.
Yeah.
Can't see anything around. I'm thinking, is it behind the tree and all that? And as I'm shining this torch around, whatever it is starts scowling at me.
Oh, crikey.
So the low down growl has now turned into like a scowling noise.
Yeah.
And it just gave me the impression that it didn't like me and it didn't want me there.
Right.
But since I got the torch and the knife and it saw that I wasn't going to run away, terrified, it then shifted from a threat to a kind of kind of
Right.
noise. Did you get that noise?
Yeah. And I know exactly what's going on. So
So
we
I
can chat about that when you finished.
Well, I didn't know what was going on, right? But at that point, I knew it wasn't a big dog.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, badgers, can they make that kind of noise? Foxes, I don't know. But it scowled at me again.
Mm.
You know, quite a nasty. I can only describe it as a nasty scowl. It wasn't,
Yeah. Not
But
pleasant.
yeah, it was just like, I don't like you. You're not meant to be here. Kind of. That's the impression I got. But the really weird thing was, the scowling noise didn't sound like an animal at that point. It sounded human.
Yeah.
Which was really weird, because that was the thing that made me go into all the research to try and find out what it was, which ultimately led me to your channel and Dogman videos and stuff like that. So I'm standing there going, what on earth is this noise, shining the torch around, not feeling all that confident by now, not quite ready to run for the car and run away, but, thinking about it. And whatever it was, then moved away from me across the field. Well, I thought it was across the field, scowling as it went.
Right.
Not growling anymore, scowling at me as if to say, you've pissed me off. I don't like you being here, but you haven't run away, so I'm going to have to go away.
Yeah.
Kind of feeling. That's what I got.
Yeah.
And it scowled at me as it went across the field 2 or 3 more times, going like, kind of noise. I can't do it well, but it was, it wasn't like an animal kind of scowl. It was more like a crazed human kind of scowl. But anyway, moving on, I stayed there for about another 20 minutes because whatever it was had left. And when there's like an event like that, the noises, like I said, it went dead quiet.
Yeah.
And then when the thing is finished, it's like everything tunes back in again.
Yeah. When the predators moved away, everything, all the noise and everything comes back. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I could hear like cars going through the village and trees rustling again. So I by now I'm like shaking in my boots basically and not enjoying photographing. So I'm packing up the camera and getting it off the tripod and folding up the tripod as quick as I can. Get it in the car. So I'm bunging stuff in the car, literally. I've got my craft knife in my pocket and the torch is on and the car lights are on now. So I'll tell you what happened since then. What I learned was there was a post in a Facebook group about a big cat sighting.
Right.
In the 80s, there was a lot of big cat sightings on the Isle of Wight, and they put it down to an escaped panther or something.
Yeah, they say, in the 70s, they let them out. And the first recording of a cat was 800. I think it was 800 years ago in the UK that a large cat was reported.
So on this thread, there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, I remember those. We saw one up the old railway track, and we saw one up the downs, and this." And no one ever had any evidence. It's just one of those weird things like the Bigfoot. But anyway, so I commented on the thread, "Oh, I had a weird experience out at Appledurkham House the other night, and heard this thing growling at me and scowling at me." And they said someone contacted me and subsequently added me as a friend on Facebook. She said she used to see a big cat in Wroxall from her house.
Right.
And she said she's seen it curling up in a field and walking down, getting water and stuff not far from her garden a few years ago. So big cat, possibly, but the way it scowled, it didn't sound like a big cat. We know like when a cougar scowls, it hisses. It's unmistakable, isn't it?
Yeah, you can hear that it's a cat, and it's not typical cat behaviour. They would slink off without you hit. Why make the growl? Because it gives away where they are.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I was stood, so my car's parked by the road, and I was stood by a fence and standing at the edge of this field, shining my torch around, looking for whatever's making this noise. With hindsight, right? Because I
Mhm.
thought it was within 20 feet of me. With hindsight, I think it was on the other side of the road behind me,
Right.
behind the tree line. So it's probably behind a tree or something, or behind a fence behind me, and I was looking in the wrong direction.
Have you ever heard people because obviously you've researched into Bigfoot and Dogman? Have you ever heard the theory? Not the theory really, but people talk about them being able to throw the noise. So it's as if the noise is coming from a different area. It's quite confusing. It's like shock and
Well,
awe.
I've heard a lot of strange things about dogmen and Bigfoot,
Mm.
but that's not my only experience, but that's my experience. So I haven't had any experience of that, so I can't really comment
Yeah.
on it one way or another. But I did have a couple of other experiences since, if you want to hear about them.
I just wanted to ask actually, what do you think about? You were there. You've got no lights on. You're quite happy being in the dark with your camera.
Mm-hmm.
So you're there. You're in a decent spot, and the noisy wedding party come along, and
Mm-hmm.
then they go, and after a certain amount of time, the atmosphere changes. So let's just hypothetically say something was in that area anyway. It didn't spot because you were there taking your photographs. It probably waited till the wedding crowd went past and dispersed. And then as it's come to move through where it wants to go to hunt, there's you. Click, 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 click.
Yeah.
Does your cameraman?
Bumped into me.
You know?
Bumped into me and went, who's that?
Ugh, that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Like a dog.
Why is he here?
Yeah.
So, and any animal that natural animal, and people will say, well, she don't know because she's not a naturalist. Most animals will not reveal themselves. They will just move off. That growl is to test your metal.
Mm.
You get a lot of reports where people say, until I stood up to it, it changed. It wasn't happy it was there, but it moved off because I think it sensed that I was not to be messed with or not to be played with. You weren't running screaming from the area, which is what the growl was meant to make you do.
Yeah.
And you've acted completely differently. And when you said to me that we all have a space, people call it like when you're in a lift and someone stands in your personal space.
Mm.
That's our energy. We have like a radar, so it picks up on things around us. And the more in tune you are, the larger that radar is. So
Mm-hmm.
you've picked up that something's come into your personal space and you've tuned into it and you've been, oh, right, I'm okay with that. And it's probably not the reaction that it's had with other people. Do you get what I mean? That very.
Well, I've had enough experience of the spiritual not to be afraid
Yeah,
of
to be
it.
calm with it. And
So
okay
I thought initially it was a spiritual thing.
Yeah, I get you.
So I wasn't that phased by it until it started scowling and it didn't sound
Yeah.
like an animal anymore. That's when it got a bit weird.
Yeah. You do. I do hear that. So I wanted to put your mind at rest with that a little bit. My personal opinion is I think it's something canine.
It
Because
did. It made me think it was a big dog initially.
that's it. I was just thinking the first thought that came into your head is usually the correct one. So what you're picking up on, you're using your animal brain as well, has gone straight to canine. So you've not gone ape and you've not gone cat, you've gone to the canine, and then you've done that thing that us humans do, where you try and explain the experience away by saying, well, it could possibly be a cat. Didn't sound like a cat, didn't act like a cat, didn't do what cats do, but that's the only possible reasonable explanation I can come up with. And it could very well have been a cat, but to me, if your very first initial thought and you're very intuitive has gone straight to dog, then that's where we should be looking.
Well, I'll tell you another experience I've had, which will help clarify this one. And something else I heard in the video, I'm just going to mention it quickly.
Yeah.
You might find a bit amusing. I'm not sure if it was one of your videos or another channel, but someone said that Dogman in general, being of the canine genre, have very keen sense of smell.
Yes.
And he said he had an experience once and got harassed on his farm because his dog and then he peed against this tree. And since that point, he started getting harassed by Dogman on his farm. And he reckoned it was because it was a marking post.
I get you. Yeah.
He's urinating against the tree and challenged it. Well, just because, you know, I'll mention it just because. But when I'm out with the camera, I quite often urinate
you need a pee. Yeah.
in the wild. Yeah.
Territory.
So perhaps, you know, I was marking its territory or something.
Alpha male within its territory.
I don't know if that's true, but I thought I'd mention it.
But it's a plausible explanation, isn't it? You're in its area. It might go through that area every night, and then you're there.
Well,
and you've
one of the other plausible explanations I had was that it was I'd tuned into the unconscious, which, if you understand the way the human mind works, you might get what I'm on about. But it could have been a kind of, well, my experience is when you're in touch with some aspect of the unconscious mind, you experience it as real.
I understand what you're saying.
Even if it was just a personal experience, and if, you know, other people were there, it would have been a different experience.
But for them, yeah.
So anyway, let's get on to the other experience.
Yeah.
Because that'll give you a better kind of bigger picture of what was going on. Yeah. Anyway, so that was in the summer. So I think it was the following winter, mid kind of December. I could check the dates actually because I've got all these photographs on my camera.
Right.
So I wanted to catch the full moon coming up over Carisbrooke Castle, which is near Newport on the Isle of Wight.
Right.
And because it's winter and the moon's coming up quite early, the moon was coming up at 7 p.m. It's a good time for me to go out with the camera because it's not late.
Yeah.
And I don't have to stay out long because it's cold and stuff like that. And you know, not being funny, but when it's earlier, it's not so frightening.
Yeah.
So when you're out at midnight at 2 a.m., it's a bit more exciting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So 7 p.m. there's lots of people around, and it's just not a big deal, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm up at Carisbrooke Castle, waiting for the moon to come up, and there's a drama club in the castle. So there's people parking up near my car.
Yeah.
And going up through the castle gates and stuff. And I actually got a really good photograph of some people opening the gates, and they've got their torches on. So the arch to the castle and the main gate is all illuminated.
Oh, very atmospheric.
So I got a nice long exposure photo, and then I took another photo of the moon coming up and put them in as a composite. So I got a nice freaky castle moon shot. Well, anyway, I was shooting the moon, and whoever was going in the drama club had gone in, and it was half an hour later, and it was quiet, and the moon was coming up, and I got some pictures, and I heard this stick tapping on the floor.
Right.
On the other side of the car park. It was about 7:30, getting on for 8 o'clock by now, and I just, you know, I noticed it. I didn't think anything of it really. Just heard this stick tapping. And like you say, intuitively, I thought, I bet that's someone walking their dog and they're tapping a stick because they're
as you go
scared
along
at night, and they're making a noise to let whatever they're scared of know they're there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like someone walking down a lane at night might whistle.
Yeah.
Loudly. Do you know what I
mean?
mean?
That's also for your own confidence, isn't it, when we do that? Yeah.
So I hear this stick banging, and it turns out to be this lad. I suppose he's between 25 and 30 years old, and he's dressed very scruffily. And if the person ever hears this video and it was you, I apologise if it had nothing to do with it. I apologise in advance, and you'll see why in a little while. But anyway, he's dressed scruffily, like, not like hippie, but like a homeless person might be. Like cargo pants, lots of layers of clothing, but dirty, dirty hair and stuff. And he's walking along, banging the stick on the floor. Kind of a walking stick, thick pole kind of size stick. And he walks up the end of the car, comes out of the castle grounds, walks across the car park, and this is still like fairly early in the evening, so I'm not fazed at all.
Yeah.
Walks up the end of the car park, disappears through the end of the car park. I thought, he's gone down a public footpath.
Yeah.
End of story, right? Well, anyway, I started getting weird feelings. Started feeling nervous, and you get a bit, what's the word? You get a bit freaked out. Normally I'll get that on my own. It's very late at night, but it was like 8 o'clock. I'm starting to get freaked out. It's really dark. It's not feeling good at all. So I'm thinking about packing up and leaving.
Yeah.
And I see something run across the top of the castle wall quickly. So the intuition said fox.
Right.
Because it was that sort of speed, legs moving quickly. But I couldn't see it was a fox, but I just thought I saw something run across the top of the castle wall. The lower wall, which is nearer to where I was, not the high wall.
Yeah.
The moat wall. So I'm like, right, I've had enough of this. Mine's playing tricks on me. I'm going to put camera in car, and I'm packing up, and stood there and just looked around, nothing going on. So right, get in car and I'll leave. So this is about half an hour, 3/4 of an hour since I saw the bloke with the stick. And I drive down the lane, and blokey's walking down the lane.
Right.
So it's taken him half an hour, 3/4 of an hour to walk about 400 yards.
Right.
Which is a bit strange, yeah?
Yeah.
So that was my Carisbrooke Castle experience, which is most people say no big deal. But the next day, when I get up in the morning, there's a article in the Isle of Wight County Press, and 11 sheep were killed in the Carisbrooke Valley, and it was a full moon. Ooh. And they said it was by a large canine, a large unidentified canine.
Yeah, a large unidentified canine. That's normal.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is why I apologise to the lad if it had nothing to do with him. But I've been up the car park in daylight since, and I can't see a footpath at the end.
Yeah, you can't see where he's gone in.
Right, there's a barbed wire fence and thick brambles, chest-height brambles. Right, and the other side of the fence is about a 30 feet drop, straight down, not a slope, straight down, and there's a field full of sheep. So, then the mind puts 2 and 2 together and makes 5. Well, anyway, I just thought it was strange because the 11 sheep were killed that night. Yeah. And I'm thinking, now that's getting rude because I'm up there photographing, and I'm a child of God, and this shouldn't be happening around me. So, did it follow me up to the Carisbrooke Castle?
Matt, is there any possibility that what you saw moving on the wall was energy?
Possibly I didn't see anything, but it was so dark. It was just like a silhouette of something
moving. Could possibly be energy. I think you've tuned into the area again when you've gone in.
Well, apparently it happened so much after that in Carisbrooke Valley. They built a 10-foot fence around the deer park there. Wow. Because it was taking fawns on a regular basis.
That's something, that's large.
Well, listen, they built 10-foot fence right around the thing, and they issued a statement to the county press and said, right, if we catch whatever it is on our land, we're going to shoot it. Oh. They said that to the police and the county press, and they put the fence up, and it still happened about 2 more times after that with a 10-foot fence.
Wow. So is it getting through that fence?
Yeah. What kind of dog can do that?
Yeah. What kind of dog can do that? It's not the first time I've heard it, where even areas with public access, so it's completely illegal to fence them off. I can think of one at Slackhead in Lancaster, straight off the top of my head, where suddenly you've got these massive deer fences. So you can't even go in on the land. So, and they've even blocked off the public access, which is completely illegal, but they've done it anyway. And when I asked a few people about it, because it was about 2 years ago when I realised this, there were other people who were saying, I think Escalation Woods was another one. And they seem to be areas of high energy, let's put it like that, strange energy.
Well, funny you should say that, but every time I go up to Carisbrooke Castle, I don't have a good experience. Right. And I've more or less stopped photographing it because I just don't like it up there.
Wow. I'm not going to tell you it now, but just to let you know, there is actually a report just at Ryde, which is not that far away from the castle, is it?
Well, it's quite a small island, so nowhere's far away, really.
Yeah, there's a report at ride, and there's I'll have to make me a map smell, but I'm not going to tell it you till after. But yeah, so just to say, you're not on your own.
Really?
Yeah, there is actually one, because people think, oh, it's an island, so there's no possible way. Well, there's already a report there, and it's from a lad who was just trying everywhere to try and find out what it was that he saw. But as I say, I will fill you in on the details later. So what happened after the castle event, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, that was it. It was the whole sheep kill.
Was it all together, and could it have
Yeah,
followed?
it was all like a series of events, and I had to draw a line under it because I was challenging it at one stage, saying, right, fucking Dogman, sorry about my language.
No, you're right.
But
yeah.
you know, I've done kung fu. You know,
Yeah,
if
all
you
of
bring
that.
yourself up, you're gonna eat my tripod. So I had to draw a line under it
and close it down.
All that. Yeah, stop all that because it was happening around me too much. You know.
Yeah, so I'm just going to speak from the heart now. Right, there's two things that go on. One is, why did it reveal itself to you? Because as I say, it's not natural animal behaviour. So we have no idea the size of what this thing was. It could have been the size of an Alsatian. It could have been 8 feet tall. We have no idea.
Well, from the growl, I would say it was at least the size of a big mastiff.
Right.
So it wasn't Alsatian. It was bigger and deeper than that.
So, like, you can pick up an energy. That means that other beings, other whatever we want to give them a name to, creatures, anything, can also pick up on the energy. Like a dog can pick up when you're scared, or a dog can pick up that you're friendly and it's okay to come towards you. Well, times that by 1,000, they can pick up on your intent and every signal that you're giving off, even that you don't realise you're giving off because you're a human. Their scent is incredibly powerful, even more so than a dog. That's their environment.
Did you know cadaver dogs? You know what is it cadaver?
Oh, cadaver dogs, yeah.
Yeah.
Look for bodies.
Yeah. They can detect a spot of human blood on a rag, for example, from 100 meters away. And they can home in on it and find it, even if you buried it behind a wall or something.
There are search dogs that search on lakes and rivers. They're on the boat, and they have their head over the side of the boat. And instead of putting a diver in because it's too difficult, obviously, as they do that grid, the dog will bark when the body's below.
Really?
It's incredible, isn't it? Strangely, I was discussing this with my husband today. I was watching a programme, and it was about cadaver dogs and the way they train to rescue people from buildings. And it was this kind of a documentary from when the dog was a puppy up to its serving. And the first time that I think it was the Mexico earthquake, that it had to go in and find dead bodies. He said when it took it away from the scene, the dog was acting really strange. It was almost depressed. And it was laid down in the kitchen. He said normally they have a routine of the dog's rewarded and it gets its reward, and none of that happened. He said he was so worried that he phoned the vet out the next day, and the vet said to him, you have to understand, you've brought him in and you haven't washed him. He can still smell the death.
Do you think the dog knew someone was still alive in there?
No, I think he came home with the stench of many cadavers on him. And
interesting.
It's like when you give a dog a bath, they'll go out and roll in the smelliest thing they can find. They don't like the smell of the clean water and the shampoo that you've used and all of that. It's overpowering to them. So they go and roll in nature. They'll roll on grass, they'll roll on mud to get rid of that smell. Cats will do the same thing when they get wet. It's really strange.
I think it's instinct to mask their own smell so that they blend in.
For safety, exactly. I didn't even think of that. You're right there, Matt. It is, isn't it? It's to blend in, like a hunter will rub deer poo on it.
Because in the wild, they are predators, aren't they?
Yeah, most definitely. So if we're dealing with a dogman, we're going to use the word dogman. Just for instance, if we're dealing with a dogman, there is two courts of thought. One is that because you are open like a beacon and you can connect with them and they can connect with you, then there's some kind of relationship or bond going on. and you may have early memories of wolf-like creatures or being drawn to wolf-like creatures. The other one we have to look at is that you were in an area where something was a predator. That's why it goes quiet. A predator comes in and you're there taking you, and as we say, he's a bit pissed off that you're there and you're in his thing. So he's tried scaring you away and you've stood up to him a bit and he's growled a bit more and he stood up to you a bit. I think you've been very lucky there, and that's why he's gone off. I think if you'd have reacted like prey and run, things might have been different. And yes, they can follow you. Yes, they can follow you from area to area. They can even follow you home. And something as simple as just being really involved in the subject or interested in the subject, you're almost putting an advert out there that you want to interact.
Well, funny you should say that, but I do, if there's some area of doubt, I do kind of tend to call it out a bit.
Right.
I say, right, well, if you're real, show up then,
Yeah,
and
so
my joke in my mind for quite a long time, it was a long-standing joke, which I've since had to repress to some extent since my experiences. But I was used to say, show up and I'll give you a sausage.
So you're not only meeting it as an equal, you're kind of derogatising it as if say you're.
Well, no, it wasn't derogatising. It was offering it a gift.
Oh, I get you. Right,
peace offering.
Oh, like Mike and his sausage rolls. I understand now.
Yeah, don't eat me. Have a sausage kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a joke around sausage, but
no, I get you now. I misunderstood what you meant.
Yeah.
I think the fact that you decided yourself that you were shutting it down is why it stopped, because you made that decision that you wanted to shut it down. Other people are a bit more curious and they want to.
Yeah, and if you're frightened, you're also obsessing about it.
Yeah, yeah.
You're still reinforcing it.
Yeah, I used to fear the fear, Matt. So I wasn't fearing the actual event itself. I was fearing thinking about the event, or fearing thinking the event was going to happen again, which was just, it was like, as I said to you before, it was like a sarcophagus.
It's the same with a lot of spiritual phenomena.
Yeah.
Which is what I have to define spiritual here, because the phenomena aspect is more unconscious, but the actual spirit is visionary, is the thought of God. So there's a different aspect people need to understand about what spiritual is, because there's quite a lot of confusion there.
Yeah, I misuse the word, because when I speak of spiritual, I mean like the universe. But
yeah, I mean thought generally.
Right, I get you. Just putting it out there.
Spirit, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the same. It's the same with a lot of spiritual aspects. The same with the UFO phenomenon, and ghosts as well. If you're researching it, or if you're afraid of it, you're inviting it in.
Yes.
At some level.
Because you're still thinking about it. That's it, isn't it? You still.
The person who says, "I don't believe in ghosts, they're not real, I'm not interested, don't even talk to me about it," they're 99% less chance of seeing a ghost than someone who goes out with a torch at night looking for them.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, because everything's about intent, isn't it? And see, with the Dogman creatures, from what I know, from what I've learned, some of them are fine and others are complete arseholes. And they will.
Well, I was going to mention that, but from the research I've done, is they seem quite intelligent.
Oh, very more than intelligent. When you said before that it was behind you, but you thought it was in front of you the whole time.
Yeah.
Typical predator behaviour.
Yeah, it could be, couldn't it?
They have to remain elusive.
Get me to run towards it rather than away from it.
So you exactly that. So you run in the opposite direction, the direction it wants you to run in.
Well, the intelligent
Cats can throw infrasound for exactly that reason.
The intelligence I was referring to, though, was that they can actually communicate.
Yes. Yeah.
And more like an upright human animal hybrid.
Yeah, that is one of the very possible theories for them, and that's kind of where my brain goes. Some kind of engineered hybrid.
Because I've heard interviews, first-hand interviews, people said, well, I don't know if you heard the one in North America. Some hunter guy, was out with his hunting rifle, high power hunting rifle.
Right.
And he said a wolf head popped up,
Mm-hmm.
and he had it in his sights, and it suddenly started running towards him on two legs. And
Right.
he shot it and hit it with a headshot, and it
Mm-hmm.
carried on running towards him.
Yeah.
He shot it again and hit it in the body, and then it kind of swerved off at the last minute and ran back into the woods, and he shot it again from behind.
Right.
And he said he was sat down the woods one day, and he says he goes into the woods to like tune into nature, and he never takes a phone with him, and he's a very in touch with nature kind of woodsman.
Yeah.
And he said he was sat in the woods one day, and he felt kind of breath on the back of his neck.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dogman had silently stealthed up to him, and he said he sat and had a conversation with it. Yeah. And it told him that the one he had shot was a juvenile, and that the other Dogmen were pissed off with him, and that this chief Dogman had told them not to kill humans. And he told him all this, and the guy was sobbing on the phone as he told the story. He wasn't making it up. So whether it was he'd had an experience in his mind, a dreamlike experience, I don't know. But
no, as I said to you before, some of them can almost be guide-like.
Exactly, they don't appear to be ultimately violent towards humans. It's kind of this, like you say, there's good people and bad people. But
yeah, I think it's a bit like that, and I also think that not all of them are in control of their own destiny. There are some that are almost enslaved by other beings. So,
was it on your channel I heard recently that they try and capture them? The military try and capture them when they're young.
That's not what I've said, but I do agree with that. I think the younger they can get them, they almost use them like a weapon.
Yeah, I've heard they indoctrinate them
and
try and tame them.
It's
and they use them as super soldiers.
Yeah, it's the ultimate soldier, isn't it? When you think about it, there's two descriptions that come in for Dogman. And I think of them, there's one of them's your typical werewolf, your hammer house, the tail. It's got dog-like legs. It's got claws and paws and that kind of thing. And then you've got what I would now call a bipedal wolf, but what was called in history a wolf-headed man. So you've got the body of a man.
Yeah. There's medieval paintings of
cynocephalies,
of religious people with dog heads.
Saint Christopher was said to be a cynocephalis, a dog-headed man. There's a very famous story in England in history that was written down about the Scottish wolvers, and they were dog-headed men. And if you were kind to them and you left them gifts and things like that, they'd return the favour. So if you ever didn't get a catch of fish, they would leave one on the doorstep for you.
Like Bigfoot.
This almost
gifting Bigfoot.
Is it symbiotic relationship between them? Yeah, and there's
I've heard.
Ben and Dancy's another kind. The Ben and Dancy were also a wolf-headed race. They would fight at night against evil.
I've heard there's as many types as there are types of canines. There's ones that look like hyenas.
Yeah, I've got reports of hyenas.
Ones with stripy coats, spotty coats.
Yeah, raggedy, ill-looking. Yeah.
Grey ones, brown ones.
But think of dogs. Just take your typical dog. They started off as a wolf. Exactly. Look how many variations there are of them now.
Did you hear also that when early travellers and pioneers went off to countries like Mongolia, they described the Mongolians as dog-headed men as well?
No, I didn't know that.
They referred to them as mastiffs at some point.
Ah, wow. Colonials. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about that. But I tell you what reports I've had, because I can only speak from personal. I've had ones described as hyenas, but upright hyenas. I've also had reports of hyenas down on all fours. The baboon-looking face, so almost baboon-like, up on two legs and down on 4 feet. That mastiff pug, I remember him saying it wasn't a snout like an Alsatian, Debbie. It looked like a staff or a mastiff. It had that pug-shaped face. That was up on two legs and went down onto all four and crossed the road. He was a huge, strapping man. I think he said he was 17 and a half stone. And he was a bouncer. And he was driving home from work. And he said, obviously, I was stone cold sober because I was on the job. And he said he see this dark shape to the side of the road on his left-hand side. And he said, I thought at first it was a huge dog. He said, now as I got closer to it, I thought, oh, it's a bit bigger than a dog. He was trepidatious because he thought it was a deer and it was going to run out in front of the car.
Mm-hmm.
So he slows himself down, and as the lights pick it up, he said it looked like a dog-headed man. He was completely covered in hair, and it had a dog-like face.
That humbling moment, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. And it crossed the road in front of him, and he said, I can't drive that road anymore. And he actually said to me, I'm 17 and a half stone, Deb. I'm like a massive Viking. People come to me when there's trouble, and I can't drive that road anymore. And it really, really affected him. I think it was the size of it, the size of the muscles, and the pugness of the face. Because obviously people are going to say to him, it's not a Dogman, it doesn't look like an Alsatian. Dogs come in all shapes and sizes.
It's so different from our worldview, isn't it?
Yeah.
Every animal we think we know, and we've written about it and
we
understand it, and we've got like a catalogue of what's reality. And anything that goes outside of those textbooks and stuff triggers you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, do you know there's some people that believe there's one Bigfoot? Just one.
Well, I posted on, who's that famous Canadian guy? Todd Standing, yeah. I posted on his YouTube that he was saying, Bigfoot can kill man, which, easily. Because they can rip up trees and throw them like javelins, as far as I learned. But I said, but Todd, they're like gorillas. They don't kill humans who aren't bothering them. I said, there's as many types of Bigfoot as, there are whatever. But, there's tall ones, skinny ones, human-sized ones.
They really vary.
Gorilla-like Bigfoot. There's grey ones, Yetis. White-skinned ones, yeah.
You're correct. They come in normally. There's a spectrum, so you get that typical Sasquatch shape.
Yeah, the giant ape kind of.
But that can be any height from 4 feet to 11 feet.
Well, the big ones are like 17 feet.
Oh, well, I don't know. I don't ever want to see one of those. So I'm putting that out for the universe now. That I'm all right with that. I'm okay with that. I don't need to see it.
Try and find that picture of one standing by a tree.
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah, with the Indian gentleman, I've seen that.
Well, it's standing by a tree. It's got his hand on at shoulder height, leaning on this tree. This giant Sasquatch, and it's a long-haired, kind of tall.
Oh, I know the one you mean. I'll pop it in the video for people. Yeah, I know the one.
And they went back to the tree later. Because it was snowy when they took the picture, and they went back to the tree later, and the guys stood to it, and where this Sasquatch was shoulder height to this branch it was leaning on, this 6-foot guy had to reach his hand up to touch the branch.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how big.
Oh no, nope. I'd be out of there. You'd have to get me a ticket out of there, Matt. Nope.
But it wasn't. It didn't look like. It looked more like Chewbacca. Shape.
Yeah,
not
I get
like,
what
not like a big
almost, and that's got an almost dog-like mouth to it.
Not like super muscular, broad shoulders kind of thing. It was just tall and slim
and a bit like
Chewbacca,
yeah, you do. You get all kinds of. You get this ancient man type, so where it's hairy, but you see hair through it. So people say almost like a human, but much hairier. And they've got a very human face. They've got that Neanderthal brow ridge kind of thing. Then you get tall, skinny ones. You get people who say they see something that looks sickly, and that the hair on it is kind of matted, and these patches in places as if it's had accidents and dints out of it. And then you'll get this. Oh, it was incredibly sleek, and they come in all colours. From the blackest of black all the way through the spectrum to white. So if there's that colours in nature, they have even been seen with this greenish tinge, like the algae that you get on trees.
I was going to say, yeah, it's probably algae, like a sloth.
Yeah, like that, exactly like a sloth. So they've even been, I think there was one famous case in Kentucky where the lad was seeing him through his bedroom window, and he asked his mum, and he said, "Who were the green tree people?" And she was like, I think it was in Tree Peakers Sasquatch Communications. And his mum said, there are. And she said, no, he said, they are. They come out of the trees every night and they look through the feed bins. And he described them as like people, but with green skin and green hair. And he just said they blended within the tree in the day. Well, our early dryads in the UK spoke of the tree people. That could be the tree or people at whim. Almost as if we were that camouflage that we could wrap
I think that's a good point to wind things up on, really, that there's so much more going on.
Yeah.
In nature and outside the fringes of our understanding that, we really don't know half as much as we think we know.
No, we don't, do we? We really, really don't. Sometimes I wonder if we ever will get the answers, but I don't suppose it matters, does it?
I wonder if the way we're heading, is it going to be like the bar in Star Wars, where all the different creatures are in there playing poker and drinking and smoking?
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Is it going to be like the flood when we get a reset?
If we can vote, I'm going for the first. Let's go for the first one.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I'm going to leave that up to God, I think.
Okie dokie. Well, that's a good point to end it on. So don't leave me, Matt. Stay there. I'm just going to say good night to everyone. And okay. I hope you enjoyed listening to Matt. And I know I did. It was amazing to just sit there and listen to somebody else speak about their experience.
Can I plug my channel quick?
Oh, most definitely. And what I'll do, I'll add a link into Matt's channel in the description below. And if you've got a blog or anything like that, Matt, do you want to send it over to me and I can link that in as well?
Okay. All right. My YouTube channel is Matt Blythe the One.
Right. I will make sure that there's an available link everywhere that this video is posted, and I will definitely go over there and subscribe. I didn't know you had a YouTube channel. I was going to ask you about your images, your photographs. Where do you put them? Do you put them out?
If you go to Facebook, and it's facebook.com/Innervision Productions.
Innervision. I'll put a link to that as well, because I'm sure that
all one word.
Yeah, I think people would want to see the images that you're speaking of.
I could actually show you the photos of the Milky Way I took at Wroxall that night, and the Carisbrooke Castle photos as well.
Oh, that would be lovely. Would you allow me to put a couple of them in the video so it'd be?
Yeah, I'd love you to.
Oh, that'd be brilliant, because that gives people an idea of what the night was like. Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. You've been an angel. So until next time, everyone, and I will be back with another episode not too far away. I'm really excited. I'm on a bit of a buzz. So good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good night.